All right. Hi, and welcome back to the show. It's been a minute. Like we, it turns out when I don't have a bunch of fucking drama going on, there's not much to podcast about. So I've just been taking a beat and kind of just enjoying this peace and quiet, which hopefully is not a calm before a storm kind of deal. But there are things happening behind the scenes. There is someone. I'm not fully ready to talk about her yet because honestly I'm scared to jinx it. I'm a little stitious, a regular amount. But there is someone, and we will leave it at that. So, I haven't thought about the podcast at all for a few days. I don't even know what fucking episode this is. Let us have a hoon. Ba-ba-ba-ba. So this will be, okay. So I have half a podcast for episode 20 and half a podcast for episode 21. No, I have a full one for episode 21, but I didn't really love the way it turned out. So this is probably going to end up being episode 21, and I'll save those two because I fucked up in both of them, and there's some editing to do. But those will probably come out fairly rapidly after episode 21, and it'll just be kind of a clip show, like outtakes or whatever, because it's free content, and if I can get 2 episodes out of it, then fucking rights, I'm going to do it. And at this point, I can't remember what I've talked about in which episode and which outtakes, so let's just go over it all again. The church episode that wasn't has become the church episode that was. It is done. Light editing to do on it still. Just, I said my own name for once. Fucking fool. So I just have to go through and figure out a creative way to cut that out. Or leave it in at this point, honestly, because I always kind of said 21 that was going to be the episode where we release the podcast to the wild, and maybe not. Maybe we'll release it to a select few. But we're all out of order here because I just genuinely haven't had time to record. I've been busy with somebody new. But so we're going to be going backwards here a little bit because we're behind schedule a little bit here. This is technically I think it's just going to be a Therapy Eve episode for now because, again, we're kind of hurting for content, and I'm sure I could sit here and talk about the new situation, and I kind of really want to just tease some things out for myself, but at the same time, I'm really scared to jinx it. So she'll come up soon enough, honestly, because I have a good feeling, but every time I have a good feeling, it turns out it was my intuition lying to me, and then it turns into a bad feeling. So, but you know what? Also, I was going about it all wrong. It's very different with her. So it is definitely not what I was expecting. We'll say she kind of came out of nowhere, and yeah, just kind of absolutely fucking blindsided me. And I'm really sorry, guys. Winter is here. I am sick, a little sniffly, a little dust on the shoulders, if we're being honest. So bear with me here as I snort and sniffle and all of your favorite sounds to accompany the podcast. But yeah, I have. It's very different with her. Definitely not what I've kind of become used to since I started dating again. But we're doing it very, very differently than I have been. And I think that's why it's working so well, which, shock horror, I've been going about dating all wrong. Fuck me. But I know it's irrational and illogical, but I just can't help but have the fear that, like, as soon as I give her a nickname or update a contact picture or any of that, it's just, it's an irrational kind of fear, the same way that, like, sports teams have to touch the photo or whatever on the way out of the change room. But I just really, really want it to work, and I don't want to jinx it. And I am just the right amount of stitious that I feel like until it's a little more. And you know what? It's pretty solid already. I can see the direction it's moving in, and I think she can too. And hopefully she agrees with the direction we're kind of moving in. So, I should probably fucking ask her. But it's a weird situation. We'll dig into it in another episode, I think. Give it a little more time to bake and percolate and all that. But that's the very vague update about the dating life. It's going well. And there's really nothing else like, shit's good right now. My job is, and they swear they're not, but they're very casually, almost suspiciously casually, trying to nonchalantly rope me back into a leadership position. And I don't like the direction it's heading, because it kind of seems like they're setting it up so that when they need somebody to fill in for a foreman, just because we're so busy right now, I'm there to pick up the slack. And I don't like that at all, because it really it's everything I hated about being a foreman, with none of the fucking perks. No vehicle, no gas card, no nothing. It's just, I'm a regular guy doing 10 times the fucking work, which was the whole issue in the first fucking place. So we're going to see how this next week goes, but I am currently not impressed with the way this is kind of shaking out. And I've told the Frenchman about this. I was like, my dad told me, like, hey, I promise I'm not trying to get you to run jobs again. We just need somebody to fill in right now. And I'm like, that's not what this feels like, because all of a sudden I'm dealing with 2 separate projects while another foreman is on vacation. And shock horror, very my company kind of way of doing things. Little to no information, conflicting information, no material, like no prep, nothing's ready. So you all wonder why I left leadership and I'm just content to be a guy and be on the tools. This is why. This kind of shit. So, but it has made for great content for Snapchat for the last couple of days, just because of one of them is a demo job in an old grocery store. And it is spooky AF in there. There's some about, like, big buildings that are, like, partially gutted and how it's fully empty. That's, like, so scary. And excuse me. You walk or oh shit. We'll be right back here, you mob. Okay, we're back. As an aside here, if anybody knows GarageBand for iOS and can explain to me why when I stop a recording, it jumps to the front, because I want it to stop where it is so that I can just pick up recording when I'm ready to come back to it. But this is something I could probably solve with, like, Googling. But again, laziness. You boys lazy. So what were we talking about? Work. Yeah, fuck. I don't know. We're going to see how this next week goes, because I'm not getting sucked into this again. It is 100% not fucking worth it to me by any means. I jokingly say when people ask me, I'm like, I'd do it again for a $10 an hour raise. And I'm only half joking. Because if they offered me $10 more an hour, that would make it worth it. Although that would raise the expectations for me to be that good. And I am good. I don't know that I'm that level of good. So, but yes, one more day. We just got to make it through Friday, and then it's the fucking weekend, and I have some plans this weekend that I'm very much looking forward to. So I just want it to be Friday already. Fuck me. So that is kind of all the yarning and riffing and admin that you all have missed. We had therapy, obviously, in the interim here, since we're doing a Therapy Eve episode. But we can circle back around to that at the end of the episode. So the homework for, I genuinely can't remember what I've said in which episode at this point. I should have reviewed, but I'm tired and I fucking fell down this week and my kidney hurts. So sorry, guys. And one of the benefits of doing demo is the endless amounts of at least 10-year-old dust you kick up, which gives me a fat fucking frog in the throat. So anyway, therapy homework. So again, sorry if this is repeated. I did try to do a little review today because I knew I was recording tonight and I just got sidetracked. So here we go. So the homework for last week was choose your own adventure. And I have talked about this, but yes, nightmare level of stuff. But we've gone over this in a previous episode. We know why Jelly is doing this. Force me out of my comfort zone, make me a little more decisive, see where my head's at. It's kind of a natural way for me to tell her without telling her kind of what I think I need to work on next. And when she assigned this to me, I kind of was panicking immediately, like, oh, I have no ideas. Like, what the fuck are we going to talk about? Blah, blah, blah. And then, shock horror, I just gave it a few days and I had some ideas that it all came to me. So, there was 3 here. We tried to dig into one of these and it didn't make for a very good episode, honestly, because I was drunk and I was distracted and I'm pretty sure, I haven't listened back to it enough, but I'm pretty sure I just kind of sat there and talked about nothing for 35 minutes and then called it quits. So that's going to end up being one of the outtake episodes, but we are going to dig in here. And this is your typical Therapy Eve episode. We will read the homework interspersed with some hot commentary from your boy. So and this is how I started my therapy homework to my therapist. All right, senorita, I think you knew this was going to be a challenging assignment for me. I definitely struggle with decisiveness, so this is a good little challenge. I came up with 3 ideas, but I won't make you read the essay that would be if I did all 3. They were as follows. And just right at the start here, I said I wouldn't make Jilly read a whole fucking essay about any of these 3 topics, and then I wrote a whole fucking essay about one of these topics. And this is fun because I genuinely can't remember what I wrote here because I wrote it and I didn't review it. I ran out of time, and then Jilly and I, the ADHDers that we are, got sidetracked. But she was very interested in this topic, though, which makes me think it's something she's noticed and something I might need to work on. So we're working on it. And don't mind me, we're back on the piss. So, okay. They were as follows. Why do I have such a hard time letting go? Why does my dad's opinion of major life decisions matter so much to me? And a much more philosophical internal exploration, which I'll probably save for the podcast, but I am not who I thought I was, so who am I? And shock horror, Jilly was very fascinated by that last one, which has now become this week's homework, is I aim to take some personality tests and something else, and we're going to go over that. And she wants me to kind of discuss, like, who am I? Because, and this is a little frustrating because I want to send this episode to the new girl because, you know what, we're going to roll the dice. Fuck it. I can't be held back by superstition and blah, blah, blah. It'll work or it won't. The new girl, we're going to call her Autumn. I want to send this to Autumn, depending on how... And this is the pain in the dick part, is that the best way to, like, explain this is to reference April. And I really need to find another kind of way to talk about this shit without roping April in, because Jilly is sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm fucking sick of thinking about April. Not that I really do anymore, to tell you the God's honest, but it was, I don't know, it's a fucking mess. So we'll see if I send this to Autumn or not, but because I think like a 50-minute podcast episode would just do her head in, so she would be very pleased with it. But Julie was very interested in the who am I. So, because it's kind of like, and I try to do an episode about this. You guys will hear it. It'll be the outtakes episode. But like I walked into therapy with a lot of like preconceived notions of who I am and what I stand for and what I believe and blah, blah, blah. And Jilly has kind of inadvertently disproved a lot of that to the point where I'm like, oh, okay. Well, some of these foundations were not as strong as I really thought they were. So where does that leave me? Like, who am I without, like, who am I? And, you know, you have like the nuts and bolts. This isn't like an existential crisis where I'm like, oh, what do I believe? But it's definitely like a lot of what I thought were firmly held beliefs about myself are a little more shaky than I really realized. So, it's just a bit of a little interesting adventure here to kind of explore. But that will be for next week's Therapy Eve episode. And you know what? Let's just throw this in the middle here where nobody will fucking hear it. Because if you make it this, I don't know, fuck off. But the episode frequency. Obviously, the dailies are done. I don't know, you know what? If something terrible happens, the dailies will be back. But it's really difficult to sit down and talk when things are good, right? Which is a good problem to have, but I kind of miss the drama of having something to bitch about every day. But it's good because it kind of moves the podcast out of like where it was in this like diary about my past relationships and kind of just working up stuff I'm working through in therapy, which like I'm fine to talk about stuff in therapy, but like the podcast was never supposed to be this like ode to my exes that was half of the fucking episode. So now that we've really worked through a lot of that, there's no content. So it really gives me the opportunity to kind of take the podcast in the direction I initially meant it to be, which was like an actual kind of podcast where I sit down and I plan ahead and I do a lot of prep work. Well, not a lot, but I do the prep work and then have the episode planned out, right? And it gives me a chance to like work on my writing skills and kind of work on the, what we were talking about. Were we talking about it? Work on that transition from written to verbal communication that I'm struggling with right now. Because it sounds like it's just a case of fucking practice makes perfect here. But, so I'm kind of glad there is no drama. And even, yeah. And I've just kind of been lazy because I've been very focused on autumn lately. So, it's all about finding balance, right? So we will come back to that idea. I think this weekend I might try and, because I have Saturday's a free day for me. So as far as I know, fuck me. But, oh shit, I was supposed to go to the pharmacy today. Fuck. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about it because honestly, like I was tired of talking about the exes. I was mostly over it. And now I really fucking am over it. And I don't know, I've moved past it, right? So like the podcast was really, really helpful in noodling all that out and kind of figuring it out and untangling the mess that was in my head. But now there's no drama. And how many different ways can I say this? Okay. You know what? Sometimes I sit down and I'm like watching the time bar and I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. I have nothing to say. And then other nights, like tonight, I sit down to do the show and I'm like, holy fuck, 20 minutes already? So, okay. So back to the homework. But I figured we'd do Why Do I Struggle So Much with Letting Go? Not that I'm not intrigued by the other ones, but I've been thinking about this week. Quick mention, but April really drove this home for me. Our relationship was only 4 weeks, and it affected me so much. Why? Why did I feel so strongly about her? Why did I fight harder to save a 4-week relationship than to save a 9-year relationship? A lot of it was a fear of letting go, a fear of losing. The fear that if I acknowledged how unhappy I was, how poorly I was being treated, I'd have to acknowledge that I had to let her go. And then the companion fear, the thought that I'll never find anything that good, in quotations again. And that's what it really boils down to. A fear of not being able to replace what's being lost, sacrificed, or given up. I've spent a lot of my life stuck in the past, obsessing over how I could have changed a situation, seeing the various missteps that I could have undone to prevent outcomes, wishing things were different, etc., etc. I don't want to be this fool looking backwards his entire life. I need to be able to take the lessons, leave the bad, and move on. And that's not to say I'm not improving. I can see the changes and feel the difference in myself. But I backslide just like everyone else, which we are well aware of if you've listened to like episode 14, 15, 16. And 18, I think. That was when the fight was. So, yeah, this fear of loss and this fear of losing. And it's again comes back to that initial belief that I have no value and no worth. And this one's a little harder to tie together. I had it tied together nicely when I was talking to Dan the other day, and I kind of got away from me. But this fear of losing, and it really is a fear of obviously loss. Like nobody likes to lose somebody who's important to them, but at the same time, there's also this quieter fear in the background, kind of being like, you will never get anything this good again. So you just need to take this. You need to let them treat you like this. You need to put up with it because it's never going to get better. And that voice was a lot of the reason why January and I stayed together for as long as we did, when honestly, that relationship probably could have ended about 4 years earlier. But I was very content and I was very comfortable. And I very much believed that that was the best that I would ever get. And it was all I deserved. So we know better now. But yeah, just, and this kind of was about like relationships and stuff, because y'all have heard but it applies to many other aspects of my life. I think we dig into it here a little bit towards the fuck to find. You know what? Your guess is as good as mine, because I definitely did not review it. Oh shit. You know what? Sorry guys. Dead air. Here we go. At least we made it like 22 minutes. So sorry. We have a slight spelling error in this text and send. That one's for you, Autumn. The fear that, yeah. And the fear that if I acknowledged how unhappy I was, how poorly I was being treated, I'd have to acknowledge that I had to let her go. Because there was always the hope, with April at least, that it would get back to that initial goodness. Even though I could see the writing on the wall that it was never coming back. And that the way that second month was all it was ever going to be at this point. And she's since kind of shown me a little more of herself that makes me kind of realize, like, even if we'd made it through that second month and that the thing she was doing at the time, the 8 weeks of that, it still would have ended, because eventually all this stuff that I realize now would have come out, and I just, by that point I would have had some backbone and I just would have walked away. So while it's shitty how it ended, and it's shitty that I overinvested and got so hurt, it was a good little learning lesson. And yeah, we've talked about this ad nauseum. This is why I hate to bring her up, but like, this is just a good example from my recent past that I can kind of use for Jilly, because she's well informed about this situation too. So yeah, the fear that the thought that I'll never find anything that good again. Oh, sorry guys, I fucking straight up punched the mic like a dickhead. And I don't know who that's more referencing, January or April, but like when I was with January, like, I knew it wasn't great. I knew it definitely could be better, and I knew she really didn't respect me from the way she disregarded kind of what I was asking, which I felt was the bare minimum. But I was just so comfortable with that situation, and she knew me so well, and we had kind of built this life together that I was very unhappy in, but it was very stable for the most part until it fucking wasn't. But and I have to talk about January with Autumn tonight, and I am not looking forward to it. Good God. So, but yes, this fear of losing, and we're inadvertently like kind of working on this because sorry guys, breathing is really fucking hard when you're this congested, but every time I sit down and do the show, I swear it's some in the rum and cokes I think that does me in, but this fear of losing, we've talked about, I talked about this in another episode. This fear of loss is kind of why I let myself be a doormat, because being treated poorly was better than them leaving. And now we know better. And yeah, the initial suck is going to fucking suck, but in the long term, it'll be better. So, yeah. Sorry guys, speaking on. But not being able to let go and move on has been a very common theme throughout my life. Very evident in my relationship with January, which went on about 4 years too long because I was scared I'd never find someone who understood me on the level that she did. I didn't want to be alone, and I still don't. But it's getting easier every day. Kind of shocking to see how as time progresses and I progress in therapy, I'm definitely becoming more comfortable being by myself. Definitely not so scared to be alone with my thoughts anymore like I used to be. Oh God, I can't send this to Autumn. I guess this is what people mean when they say, know yourself first before you try and know someone. But obviously I'm not all the way there. We're still dating, not with any sort of high hopes. Like we've discussed, it's more about finding someone to be able to chat with throughout the day, and if that turns into something more, then fantastic. If not, then at least I don't have a silent phone all day. But the dating apps and the thought of dating hold less and less appeal lately. That said, I have met someone who things are going very well with, but we are being very reserved about the situation because much like April, it seems too good to be true. But even if it doesn't work out, of course I'll be sad, but I don't know that it would be this long drawn out devastation that April has been. I find I'm much more almost cutthroat with dating. I borderline refuse to be treated poorly, and if you can't reciprocate or give back when I'm giving, then I'll bid you a farewell. I don't have the time or the energy to play games or dance around what we're doing. So we talked about a little bit of this already, but yeah, like a few weeks ago, a month or two ago, like I really was just dating to have somebody to text and just to have someone to talk to throughout the day, because that was really the part I missed about being in a relationship. At the time, that was really what I missed about being in the relationships the most, was like just having somebody to talk to and share my thoughts with, and somebody to ask me how my day was and stuff, right? Like nobody wants to feel alone and stuff and get home at the end of the day and be like, oh, well, fucking no one cares. Jeez. Would anyone miss me if I was gone? Oh. But I still have that desire, obviously. But at the same time, like, there's not this sense of like loneliness anymore when I walk in the door at the end of the day and it's dark and it's just because it's just me here. So it's more like, oh, I can finally, kind of drop the mask and just kind of chill and unwind and relax and, have a thought, which is just a big step forward for me because if you all know, I was so terrified to have a thought and be alone with my thoughts. I was just distracting myself to the point of unhealthiness. But, yeah. And then, yeah, obviously Autumn's mentioned in here. I have met someone who things are going well with, but we are being very reserved about the situation because much like April, it seems too good to be true. Yes. It is almost the same. It's not the same. It's very different because while April and I kind of had that fast connection at the beginning and things moved very fast, Autumn and I have this emotional connection, but we're not moving fast. We're working to deepen that connection and develop it and kind of make sure that it's rock solid before we really jump the gun or get ahead of ourselves or anything here. And it's new to both of us. Honestly, both of us have said, like, this is not how I date. So this is very refreshing to, kind of approach it this way, where it's like, yeah, we could jump the gun and get to some of the things that we both want to, but like at the same time, getting to know each other on this kind of deeper level and working through some early problems today and, deepening that connection is really, I feel, going to pay off in the long run because it's already so good. And I don't want to say too much more about it, but it's definitely the opposite of how I've been dating, where it's been like a shotgun going off. We're just rushing to all the things. Whereas Autumn and I are kind of, it's a slow walk, hand in hand together. We're doing it together, and we both agreed that this is the speed and the pace we want to kind of take things at. And honestly, Autumn is probably the first one who understands what I mean when I say how important communication is to me, because like May misinterpreted it as I need her to be texting me all the time, and that's my fault for not elaborating. And April just wasn't able to meet me at that level, and January and I never learned how to, but like Autumn and I are really putting the work in here to make sure that that base is solid and that we know how to communicate and that we can be open with each other and not be afraid. So this is very, very nice, honestly. And I'm going to stop gushing about her. But, and yeah, you know what? There was a worry today that like, oh shit, maybe this is going to go away. And I was very bummed out for most of the morning, honestly. And I would have been very sad, honestly, if it hadn't worked out, because I really have strong feelings for her. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to shut the fuck up. But yeah. And I was talking about this with Dan too. Like, am I being too demanding dating? But at the same time, like, the right person will match my energy and will be as demanding as me. So I'd rather kind of filter through the wishy-washy and the half and halves and it take a little bit longer and get to the person who's willing to match my energy, kind of like Autumn has been, honestly. So that's that about that. And yeah, the fucking games and stuff, like, that's mostly about May, honestly. But I, again, don't want to speak too poorly of any of them. Yeah, and we'll touch on this section on May, and then it'll be intermission time. I guess May was part of the homework too, and that went about as well as I thought it would. She had some thoughts about where I'm at emotionally and me as a person. I didn't agree with a lot of what she said, though she did make some fair points. Overall, the whole thing really seemed like she was just trying to shift blame onto me for things not working out, which is her prerogative. I was not shy in telling her that I didn't feel she knew me well enough to be saying some of the things she was, and I really wasn't interested in an argument or fighting to keep her in my life when she's shown me more than once that she's not willing or in a place in her life to put the effort in. I tried to end things amicably, not sure how well I succeeded, but I had no problem letting her go, so we're growing, I guess, yeah. And we've talked about this. Like, May was just kind of a flake, and I think she was just kind of leading me on and just like the attention, and while it's too bad it didn't work out, like, I'm very glad it didn't, because now Autumn has kind of rolled into my life, so yeah, a door closes and a fucking bigger, better door opens. So, yeah, and that's going to be intermission. I'll be back in a second, you mob. guess it would help if I had the mic in front of my fucking face and on. Ooh, boy, this is professional podcasting. Oh, fuck. Turn the monitoring up. Guys, we are so ready to be recording a podcast here very clearly. Okay, so that was longer. That was a longer intermission than I was expecting. Autumn and I had some things to discuss, but so we just talked about May. So on to the next thing here. And also, little interlude here, just talking with Autumn just kind of about today and stuff, like, fuck, has dating culture just like lowered the bar so far? And Autumn will know what I'm talking about, but it's really kind of fucking depressing, to tell you the truth. Anyway, moving right along. Back to the homework. I do worry that maybe I'm going too far in the other direction, and I should be a little more forgiving with some of these women I talk to. I understand that life happens, and I really try to be Ooh, fuck, I must have been drunk when I wrote this. I really try to be understanding, but at the same time, when I've been very clear from the beginning what I'm looking for and it's not reciprocated, I feel that my time is being wasted and I am not willing to put up with that anymore. But at the same time, these are all very new relationships. Maybe they would reciprocate given enough time. It's a very fine line between being understanding and empathetic to life circumstances and being a doormat again. Still struggling to find the balance. And I definitely don't want to swing too far the other way and end up being arrogant. Very happy I'm learning how to do all this as I enter middle age, he said with heavy sarcasm. So this is kind of interesting, especially viewed through the lens of like Autumn and I lately, because at the time when I wrote this, I was like, am I expecting too much? Are my expectations too high? Like, is it fair to ask this of someone who it's a newish relationship and we're still kind of figuring things out? Excuse me, guys. Fuck. But then enter Autumn from stage left, and she has been more than willing to meet me every step of the way and meet my expectations and exceed them in every case. So maybe I was being a little demanding and arrogant with my standards, but at the same time, I'm very glad that like I didn't end up lessening them, because along came Autumn and she has just blown them all out of the water by being kind of exactly what I was looking for and being so willing to work with me. Sorry, we had about 2 drinks while we were on intermission. So if I'm a little bit saucier, that's why, from one second to the next. But yes, Autumn has been like so willing to meet my energy and reciprocate my level of kind of what I'm looking for. And it's so refreshing to kind of have somebody who's willing to operate on that level. So on the one hand, I do understand that like I have high expectations, and it's probably unreasonable for a lot of people, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't settle, because along came Autumn, and who was so willing to kind of, who is very understanding and knows exactly what I mean, and so willing to like talk things out and not just kind of walk away from it when I'm like, yo, this is not what we fucking talked about, senorita. Like, so Autumn has kind of met and exceeded every expectation I had, and we were very smitten, y'all. But also, I just remembered this. God damn, this is bad fucking podcasting. But the Frenchman told me today, the Frenchman's wife has listened to this. So she's listened to the podcast, which is crazy to me, that she is interested in my silly little life. So when you get to this episode, the Frenchman's wife, and I'm sorry, that's a very terrible nickname for you, but, hi, thanks for listening. Hopefully none of this is like insane information to you, because I know you don't know me that well, even though the Frenchman and I have been friends for like 10 years, but I'm very glad you gave it a hoon, because, what am I trying to say here? Because when the podcast kind of gets a general release, your reaction will be most people's reaction, because most people don't know me as half as well as they think they do. So I guess we have each other's numbers now too, because you texted me this morning. So any thoughts? Fire on my way. I'm just kind of curious what people think of my silly little dramas and stuff, especially since the Frenchman and I are at very different stages in our life. So one more yawn. And then we're back to the homework. We're going to have to fucking speed run this shit, boys. We only got fucking 24 minutes left here. God damn. I guess we should get back to the topic at hand, problems letting go. I swear I don't mean to turn everything into talk of relationships, just the easiest and most recent thing that relates to this. It's all about fear of loss and fear of loneliness, if I had to guess, which again can more than likely be traced back to feelings of no worth. Fear of loss is just fear that no one will want me as a partner or love me because I'm worthless. Fear of loneliness, proving right that I'm worthless and don't deserve a partner. Not that I believe either of these things anymore, more exploring connections. Connections between like the fear of loss and the fear of loneliness, and this base belief that that all things stem from that I have no worth and that I am worthless, which is not true anymore, because I'm going to send this to Autumn, and this is going to be like a system shock to her. This is very in-depth, real look at me so early on. So sorry, Autumn. Oh, yeah, you know what? It would have helped if I just read the next fucking line. Not that I believe either of those things anymore. More exploring connections. I find that I can't stop playing the what if game a lot, too. What if I cut ties with April and she did want to try again, just didn't know how to tell me? What if I was too harsh with May and should have been more forgiving? What if? It's a fool. Guys, we're approaching the point of too drunk to do the podcast, but no, we're not. I'm full of shit. I'm funny. I'm a funny senorita, aren't I? Ancho. What if? It's a fool's errand and I waste too much mental horsepower on it. I've said it on the podcast more than once. I can't keep living in this fantasy what if land, because all it's doing is making it impossible to move forward. A person will show you how they feel about you if you pay attention, and both of them showed me with silence that was louder than any words they could have spoken. The Frenchman is convinced that April is going to come back, albeit only to cause drama. The old friend thinks she still wants something with me. I think that the fact that I don't know how she feels about me and didn't when we were together is answer enough. If I don't know how you feel about me because you're not showing or telling me, then I know how you fucking feel about me. Again, this was all kind of written right before Autumn and I really ramped things up. So, Autumn, if you're listening to this, please don't worry about this, that, and the other. But, yeah, like, and this all kind of ties back to what the homework was about, is the fear of letting go. And like, it leads to this fucking what if game that just kind of can send you on this like crazy mental spiral where you're just, what if this, what if that, blah, blah, blah. And then I played that little game for a week or two or three, right? But before I had met Autumn, I had kind of just been like, you know what? Like, this what if game, what's the fucking point? Because you can spend all this time wondering, like, why, what does April think of you? Why does she care? Why does she care so much? Like, why is she following you so closely on social media? And at the end of the day, who fucking cares? Because if she had something to say, if she wanted me to know how she felt about me, she would fucking tell me. And she couldn't be bothered. And I moved on, honestly. And we've kind of reached that point now. We're like, not kind of, we have reached that point where I'm just not interested anymore in this fucking little game of cat and mouse that we had going on and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not worth the horsepower, especially now. No. Because I thought that the way April treated me initially was how I had always deserved to be treated with January, and I was just too much of a coward to stand up for myself and expect that from her. But along came Autumn and has kind of shown me more, how do I put this into words? Like the way it was with April in the beginning was just such a system shock because it was so different from how it was with January in the beginning. And I thought, well, this must be what a healthy relationship looks like. And now, so far removed from it, like obviously it was not. And kind of what Autumn and I are doing right now is much more in line with what I would kind of think a healthy relationship is, where we are really putting the work in to get to know each other and work through some difficult topics early on so that we're not blindsided by them like too far down the line where we have such strong feelings for each other and it's just another devastation for both of us, like, and not focused on the physical and sex and all that stuff like we have discussed at TMI, but it really is not even in the top 10 primary focuses for kind of how we're getting to know each other. And I am just such a fan of this approach and so glad that Autumn is kind of really willing to do it this way because it's so out of both of our wheelhouses for dating. So, and this message is specifically for Autumn. If you're listening to this, I don't know. It got away from me. Say goodbye. There it is. It took 48 minutes, but kids joined me on the platform as we wave goodbye to the thought that got on the train without me. So, it's just kind of important to remember, Autumn, that this was all written before things had, right around this time that things had really ramped up with us. So, I don't know. I have a silly little worry that you're going to think I'm still hung up on my ex and I'm not. So this is probably something I should discuss with her, guys, and not on the fucking podcast like a lunatic. But yes, we've said it once. We've said it a fucking 100 times. If I don't know how you feel about me, I know how you feel about me. And Autumn tells me every hour, almost every hour, honestly, and shows me consistently how she feels about me. And that is kind of something April didn't do. So again, another eye-opener that what I thought was a healthy relationship was unhealthy. And we're growing and we're learning, and it's kind of painful in fits and starts, but Autumn really is willing to put the work in, and unintentionally she shows me in every text, in every voice note, in every interaction that she cares and I matter and I'm important to her. And like, that's all I can ask for, is that I don't need you to be telling me all the time, but it's the little things that let me know that you care. And Autumn has got that in spades. So we're a little drunk at this point, guys, so we're just kind of wax lyrical about how fantastic Autumn is. So sorry. And fuck if this doesn't work out with Autumn, because if I have to come back and listen to this and things go sideways, I am genuinely going to be so sad. Not that I think it's not going to work out, Autumn. Jesus Christ. This is the problem with telling people about the podcast, is that I kind of am like, okay, well, defend your position, because now you know that people in your life are listening to this, you fucking dickhead. And then now we just kind of bring this to the end. And this is just, in the interest of transparency here, this is just the rest of the homework. So don't read too much into this one way or the other. Fucking April. I swear I'll shut the fuck up about this one day soon. For now, it's baby steps to being okay being alone and being a little lonely. It's good to feel now and then, and I think it could be good motivation for self-improvement. All in all, this didn't come out exactly how I thought it would, but honestly, they almost never do. Hopefully an acceptable homework submission. So, Jilly was... what the fuck? Those are funny looking glasses, Autumn. Jilly was very pleased with this. She definitely wanted to dig in a lot into the where does this fear of letting go from, and where does this, like, what kind of caused it? And it's all boils back to like a fear of being alone, which is just the latest and greatest thing we're working on. And we've made great strides, honestly, in the last couple of weeks and months. And it's, again, like I talked about in another episode, like Jilly is really the inception therapist, because we were doing work on this before I ever realized it was a problem. And now that we've kind of come to this point in the therapy, well, shit, we've done all this secret work on it that I never realized we were doing. And I am so much farther ahead than I ever thought I would be. I thought this would be much more difficult, but no. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jilly really kind of was like pushing me to get comfortable being alone, and to get comfortable like being alone with my thoughts. And inception therapy, man, Jilly is so fucking good, and she will not accept any credit, and it drives me bananas. But yeah, I guess we kind of talked about Autumn a little more than we expected to here, eh, guys? Because I know I'm going to send this to her, and we're going to roll the dice and hope for the fucking best. But yeah, we are fast approaching the time limit in GarageBand, and I'm very glad that I was able to hoon out a decent length one here, because we really have struggled. So I think the move maybe is I need to go into these with a little more prep work done. And almost as kind of awkward as it is to listen to me read stuff and then vamp, like that's the weakness, is I can write. I need to work on orating that writing. So we might have a few awkward episodes here of me trying to deliver something that I've written. And for all the listeners, all fucking none of you, I hope you'll stick with me while I work through this, because it is definitely a skill, and it's one I never developed. So it's one I would like to develop now, because half the reason for starting the podcast was to supplement therapy and kind of work through shit on my own and then check back with Jillian, make sure I'm on the right track. The other half was to work on my verbal communication, because I suck shit at it, and I was afraid of confrontation. So we've made great strides and leaps and bounds here. So the podcast is working, and, you know, people in my life are starting to hear it, and I'm getting positive reports back for the most part. The Frenchman was telling me today that his wife really may be a stretch, but he said that she enjoyed it. And I was like, how far did she fucking make it in? And she was at some point with May. So she's made it past the dark days where, like, episodes 1 through 4 or 5, where I was very monotone and hadn't found my voice yet. And I don't know. So I don't know why y'all listen. I'm sure my dramas kind of make you guys feel better about your own fucking lives, because, well, fuck, why wouldn't they? My silly little problems, probably to watch a grown man flip out about or be so concerned about this, that, and the other relationally. But then we come to this point where there's not really any dramas and things. I've met a fucking actual functioning adult who understands what I'm looking for in a relationship and is more than willing to meet me halfway and put all this work in with me hand in hand and be a true teammate, which is what I'm looking for in a fucking relationship. So I want an equal, I want a partner. I don't want some subservient little housewife, like, and this is her and I are going to get into this tonight to a lesser degree. So, bit of a serious note to end the show on, but hey, fuck, it's my show. I'll end it however the fuck I want to. Y'all are lucky I don't set off a fucking air horn here without telling you. Sorry, headphone listeners. Usual end of the episode housekeeping. If I didn't directly tell you about the show, how did you hear about it? If you go to Spotify, in the episode page at the bottom, there is a Q&A section, and it'll say something like, what did you think of the episode? Because I am too fucking lazy to go in and be asked to update it. So if you wanted to, oh fuck, big yawn. Oh shit. Here we go. Yes. If I didn't directly send you the podcast and you just kind of stumbled upon it, could you head over to the episode page, head down to the Q&A box, and just fill me in on how you found it, how Spotify served it to you? Because I'm just genuinely, eternally curious how the internet and the algorithms work. And the analytics tell me that about 80% of you come from within Spotify, which means you're either stumbling across it and you think the goat is funny, or Spotify served it to you. So, Yeah, if you wouldn't mind doing that. And then if I don't bring up your question, comment, or concern, it's because I forgot to check it in the analytics because I am a lazy sack. So, and also, did you know the podcast has an email that you can send your questions, concerns, comments, criticisms, or suggestions for topics to? Please don't tell me to kill myself. It's rude as fuck. If you want to fire an email over to dumbereveryday42@gmail.com, it's the name of the show. The number is 4 and 2 at gmail.com, no spaces. I am always happy to hear your questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, suggestions, criticisms, blah, blah, blah. And other than that, it has been a fucking fantastic episode, y'all. Honestly, I haven't listened back to it yet, so I may be full of shit. But until the next time, be good, you mob, and I will catch you in the next one. Hooroo.